I got the guild offer, and now I had all consulting firms chasing me because, I was a top ranker and I had a good profile and I had interned at this great place, and I told them, "Mera ho gaya." So I think I must have prepared for more cases than a lot of people who actually went to consulting.
But you never actually went.
I never actually went.
So like साल में कितने deals करते हो आप?
Probably 7 or 10.
Wow.
1%. So that's the conversion for most firms. If you start chasing money, you'll end up optimizing for the wrong things. And I feel like if you work with the right set of people and do interesting things, money ends up following. I didn't treat IIMs, and I would love to share this with others as well, that don't treat them like placement agencies. Because then your outcome is just related to which company you get into. Like, your brand is forever, the job is temporary, right? So the first job is good, but your life can go anywhere after that. And try to learn as much as possible in those 2 years.
So how did Morgan Stanley happen? And also, were you still writing online during these times at IIMA?
First year IIMA, you can't do anything. So my Quora kind of slowed down a bit. I was extremely keen on getting into consulting firms. In fact, as I told you, I got into a consulting firm. I'd got a shortlist from a top tier firm. They know who they are. I'm not going to say who they are. And they have this policy which was very weird, which is if you interview with them for 1 year, they'll not interview you again. Or at least that's what I was told. So in IIT, I got the shortlist, which is hard because they just shortlist like 20 out of 880. But in IIMA, I didn't get the shortlist. And I was like, kya ho raha hai? And there was another consulting firm that I was pretty keen on. And they get to know ki shortlist kahan se aaya. So I didn't have the shortlist from this A firm. And they knew that they are the top priority. So they went chill on me. And so one day before summers, you have calls where they call people who are on the hot list, and I didn't get a call, right? So I was super pissed. So I was like, okay, let me just put Morgan Stanley as my first preference, along with this other firm. And I didn't expect anything because I had not prepared for finance. In fact, Morgan Stanley, one day before, they had this modeling exercise where you had to do a discounted cash flow and value an asset. I left it blank and came because I didn't know. Like, I had not prepped for finance. This is your first 3 months.
Right.
And then I go for summers, day 0, in the morning, and everyone sits there. Everyone has to come. It's like 300 nervous people sitting in an auditorium. And 8 a.m., they call out my name and they say Morgan Stanley. And I'm like shocked. I'm like, why are they calling me? I just put it out of like spite. And I go into the interview room and I tell them, ki I don't know finance. They're like, we know. Then I'm like, why are you? So they're like, why? They're like, let's see. So then I said, okay, I'm a smart guy. You give me anything that's non-finance, I'll do it. So they gave me a puzzle which was a pirates puzzle, which is 4 pirates in descending seniority order. How will they split 100 coins amongst themselves? And the answer is 980101, right? I mean,
like a cat question almost.
Yeah, I mean like slightly more advanced than cat. But because I had done like some prep for Optiver trading and all, I cracked the puzzle. So they were like super happy. And they asked me a few other questions. In 10 minutes, they asked me, okay, when's the next flight to Bombay? I'm like, is this a question? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, no, because we are leaving. I'm like, why? Because we want to make an offer. And I was like stunned. Like this whole, my consulting love, suddenly I was...
this was for which profile? Was it private equity?
Yeah, this was private equity. So this was private
then they wouldn't hire a lot of people either.
Yeah, just one person. So I get out of the room. And then like some of the finance guys were like
waiting for
this. They like, ye consulting wale bande leke chala gaya. And then my the consulting firm that didn't put me on the hot list. I was going to say the name anyway. So the
Up to you. I mean, we don't have a
no,
problem.
it's okay. I have a lot of friends there. So this guy who's now my friend, he calls me. He's like super senior. He's like, Aviral, where are you? We're waiting. I'm like, I have an offer. They're like, no, I know you are not going to, like, we are first preference. I'm like, no, I'm going to Morgan Stanley. He was like shocked. He's like, I didn't know you wanted to do finance. I'm like, even I didn't know I wanted to do finance. So, so I end up at Morgan Stanley. We would evaluate bridges and tolls and like these large assets, multi-billion dollars.
Big ticket sizes.
Big ticket sizes. So I felt a little like disconnected with what I was evaluating, but I liked the investing process, right? So I had this startup experience that I told you about. I in fact did one in my 4th year too, and this investing experience. And ye dono mere dimag mein, like, in a very naive way, they started forming this investing plus startups equals what? And I'm like, VC. So I started thinking that, maybe that's something I can explore.
And I guess when you were graduating, that was a time when even the consumer internet ecosystem in India was starting to become a little more mainstream.
Yeah. I would say my life is a bunch of non-linear decisions, although like from the outside it seems like I've done all these very sought after things. Like even when I went to IIT, I took a degree in a stream that not many people take. I went to IIMA instead of going to like for me the linear path was going to the US. And then I did like finance instead of consulting. And then there's this other thing that's like, again, everyone is socially so pressurized to do, which is exchange, right? And like I said, I studied, so I had good GPA and like my profile was good, so I was like number 1 or 2 in the list. But I didn't end up going on exchange, primarily because I'd gone to Europe.
You had gone to Sweden earlier.
So. Yeah, but people still go, right? For me, it's like a glorified Euro trip.
I went. I had a great time.
It's a glorified Euro trip.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just that depends on what you constitute as learning. So what you said earlier.
Correct.
That it'll change your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you, I think if you had not gone, it made sense. For me, it made no sense, right? And log bolte hain ki, we'll go there and study. I'm like, dude, like, who are you kidding? So I don't go on exchange, and then my term 5 gets over in 2 months instead of 4. I'm like, what do I do? So I'm like, oh, this VC thing, let me try it. So I ended up applying to 2 firms, one of which was Guild. And I went and did a winter internship there. So after I did a winter internship, it suddenly became cool to do winter internships. This is how people work in like business schools. They see someone else doing it, they'll follow. So people stopped going on exchange to do winter internships. It's a weird thing. But that was not the reason why I did it, right? And they were setting up their seed fund, and I thought that maybe this might be an interesting experience.
But were you still writing at the same time?
Yeah,
alongside?
so I think in terms of writing, in my 2nd year, I picked up a lot. I started writing like crazy.
And which platform were you using?
Quora.
Still Quora. Okay.
So then I really took off. I think I was probably 10, 15K when I joined IIMA, and I think by the time I ended, it was 70. And mostly that growth happened in my 2nd year, because in the 1st year it was very hard. And again, I took the same thread, kept writing about the IIMs rather than the IITs. Again, large interest group. I put my Excel also.
हमने तो company बना दिया उसके बाद पूरा.
So large interest group, and then people kept reading it. So I think that too kind of took off on Quora. And then so I got the Guild offer, and now I had all consulting firms chasing me because I was a top ranker and I had a good profile and I had interned at this great place, and I told them mera ho gaya. So I think I must have prepared for more cases than a lot of people who actually went to consulting.
But you never actually went.
I never actually went. So I ended up in VC.
You didn't even go for an internship to a consulting firm?
Nothing.
Awesome.
And I didn't set foot in a consulting firm as an employee.
So now let's move to the 2 aspects I want to cover now before I open up the floor for the audience. One is, the entire VC world that you are now a part of, and so clearly it seems like you feel like you are like a fish in water when it comes to VC.
Right.
And so that discovery happened post Morgan Stanley, and I guess Guild worked out for you awesome.
Yes.
So tell us about that. And also alongside this entire social media presence that you continued to keep building.
Right.
Was it deliberate? Was it a moment which happened by accident? I mean, you obviously now have a team of 30 people, doing that. So first, let's look at the VC bit,
Right.
and I know that both of them are I mean, they're linked with each other.
Right.
So
So I think how I look at it is one hat with different colors based on where you look, black hat, white hat. But it's, I'm with Venture Highway now. We're a seed fund and a junior VC. I think they're like different sides of the same face because they kind of reinforce each other. And I'll talk about the VC journey first. Like I said, I used a very simple, I would say very naive framework to get into venture. But it did 2-3 things that I really liked. One is it allowed me to think. Second it allowed me to meet a lot of people. And the third is it allowed me to get upside for conviction. Right? The third part is very hard. Right? There are very few jobs in the world where you can put conviction and then you see it translate into something really big. Right? These three things like came together. And I didn't realize that I liked it. I've started to realize that if you work hard enough and you are committed enough, you can make any career work, right? But for me, like I think VC was these three things that came together. I kind of stumbled into it, and then when I realized that this is what it is, I kept going deeper, right, into venture. And I love meeting founders. I think it gives me a ton of energy. Like you're a founder, we were speaking. I'm so curious to learn about different models, different businesses. How is a new founder trying to change the way things are done? I think I meet like 1,000+ founders a year in different capacities.
I mean, I'm just glad that there are 1,000 people starting companies.
Yeah, there are many more. I don't end up meeting a lot of more founders as well.
I mean, I'm saying that 5 years back this wasn't the case.
Yeah, this wasn't the case, right? And the time I got into VC, there was a huge rush of money and it had just started to pull back, which is happening now again. So I think I entered VC at a very good time, which was a down cycle, right? So my expectation is set there, कि कुछ नहीं होता है, right? There are no founders, nothing, right?
So like साल में कितने deals करते हो आप?
And now
After meeting 1,000 founders?
Probably 7 or 10.
Wow.
1%. So that's the conversion for most firms. Now, I'm still writing on Quora. Gaurav at Unacademy, he messages me on Quora saying that, hey, I've started this new company. You seem like an interesting guy. Do you want to be an educator there? Right, I just graduated. And I had got into VC. So I wanted to be like, oh, let me show that I'm a VC. So like, Gaurav, do you have a pitch deck? And he was very kind and he was like, हाँ ठीक है, let's talk. So I realized that maybe writing can get you introduced to interesting founders, right? Now that idea stayed in my head a little bit, but I don't think I was actively solving for it because I write for myself first. And that's as a creator, I think that's the most important thing. If you're creating for an audience, you will tire. But if you write or create for yourself, you will always enjoy it, right? So if it meets my bar, depending on what type of content is, if it's long form, much higher bar. If it's short form, then I can be like more chill. I write for myself. And then, I talk about a variety of things. I read very widely. So I said I wanted to be a historian, so I keep reading history, science obviously, about business and tech. And I don't want to, talk a lot of superfluous things, which is like, success happens after failures. I mean, like, okay. So a lot of people say these things, but I don't want to write that, right? I want to talk about actionable things or data or insights, right? So I kept writing on Quora, then somebody, this whole startup thing was starting and I had become a VC. So I started a blog called Life of a Junior VC. In 2018 on Quora itself, it was not. And all I used to do is I'd put reads I had read for the week, 10 of them, and it started getting momentum. And then somebody suggested, this new thing started called newsletters. You want to start a newsletter? I'm like, cool. I started a newsletter. And then I asked people to sign up, and 50 people signed up. And it was like the same feeling that I felt when I got the 2 upvotes. I'm like, wow, so many people, right? So Life of a Junior VC became a newsletter, Life of a Junior VC, which then dropped the life, like the in the Facebook, became a Junior VC. And it went from a newsletter on MailChimp to a website to a platform. Now there are like tons of products. And we're trying to make sense of the startup ecosystem. I think in VC, where I meet founders, in a junior VC, also I meet and speak about the ecosystem. I'm 24/7 doing the startup ecosystem. I think the founders and the areas that I'm not able to cover as a seed investor, my team and us, we are able to cover in a junior VC, where we can talk about larger companies, different themes. So we get the whole coverage. And it's a fairly nice ecosystem now, 150,000 monthly actives. And given the niche focus, just startups, I think it's a pretty good engagement. And we have a lot of love. I meet a lot of founders through it. It's very helpful.
So, which was your big startup story that you wrote, which blew up on LinkedIn or wherever?
Oh, there are lots. So
yeah, but I mean, I'm sure that there is something that it must have hit you at some point of time that, boss, now this is legit something that I'm building here.
Yeah. So I think I started seeing Quora kind of losing its direction in 2018, and I did one cross post from Quora to LinkedIn on some startup I'd written. I think it was about Facebook, and it did reasonably well. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I should go deeper here. And then Zomato had launched Zomato Gold, and I'd written about it in my newsletter. So I was like, let me put this on LinkedIn as well, and it blew up. Like on LinkedIn, I didn't have more than 4-5K followers at that time, right? And now I don't know, I have 2.5-3 lakhs. And from getting like 50 to 100 likes, I got 2,500 likes on that Zomato Gold post, because it was a very clever tool. So I was like, maybe this works. And LinkedIn was working. So I started posting once a week about startups. I would go very deep into them. I'd pick Netflix and then Swiggy, and it just kept picking up. And then a junior VC, what we would write, and LinkedIn, they would mirror each other. So LinkedIn would essentially become the funnel for a junior VC, right? So I'd take a summary of what we'd written. I even do it today. And like a lot of people joke that Aviral's post will start with dark horse, this company will win. But it's a template that we have productized.
Nice.
Right? So it becomes very easy for me to write faster, right? What people miss.
It's almost like the audience knows what is going to come in the format, but it's still people want to
read it, correct. Right? There is predictable unpredictability. And that's an amazing place to be as a creator, because they have familiarity with you, but they don't know what's going to hit them, right? And I think we've like mastered the process of creating these stories, which people don't really appreciate. It's very hard to do this on like just a weekend or something, right? And so these LinkedIn posts picked up, a junior VC picked up, and they both like went in tandem. And the investing kept going. I think they all reinforce each other.
One final question from my side: how important is money? Because we've spoken about a lot of things which, like obviously, you're looking for asymmetric returns in VC.
Right.
But is it the game that excites you, or is the money also important for you?
I think for me, it's always been about the people, which I'd say is the game, right? Who are you playing with, and what are you playing? I've actually never optimized for money. And funnily enough, like I was saying, when you don't care about it, you get a good amount of it. I think if you start chasing money, you'll end up optimizing for the wrong things. And I feel like if you work with the right set of people and do interesting things, money ends up following. So I wouldn't say money is not important. Of course it is. But I think you should optimize for financial freedom, which I talked about, which is very simple. Interest on your wealth is enough to cover your expenses. After that, everything's a plus, right? And that's what people should do, because otherwise it's a moving goalpost. You'll never stop, right? So for me, I think money has always been something that's a byproduct rather than the core. And I really need to enjoy working with who I'm working and doing what I'm doing. So that's money.
So, I mean, I can go on and on. I have like hundreds of other questions, but I need to give a chance to the audience to ask some questions now.
As a VC, how comfortable are you with the idea of investing in a creator and their brand?
I think it's become pretty normal now. So there's this company called Nas Daily, who's a big creator in Southeast Asia. I spent some time with him. I think they raised like a 10, 12 million round. I don't think it's abnormal anymore. Obviously, you need to create an organization, but you'd realize that the investment is in NAS versus a company. And yeah, I think it's going to, like my theory is you had the renaissance 500 years back where individuals would make, create and then earn income. I think the internet has reduced cost of transaction so much that you don't need to have organizations anymore for creators, right? And I think creators are going to be able to monetize and meaningfully make money. And I think they'll make large outcomes. So not really a challenge. Like me as a creator, I understand it.
Recently, Nitin Kamath, the co-founder of Zerodha, made a post saying that the cost of acquisition is very high compared to the lifetime value of a customer for B2C startups in India. So what I want to know is, do you kind of agree with that statement? And if you do, then what are the factors that are making the startups profitable in the present scenario?
I don't think I can answer that question in 2 minutes, but let me attempt. Is Haldiram's profitable?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a national brand. Yeah.
Haldiram's profitable, Parle's profitable, Amul's profitable. So consumer companies or consumer brands in India can make money, right? Obviously, we are a very young market, so it's very difficult for you to make money from the Indian consumer as such. I think the problem with, or the opportunity for startups is that Haldiram's taken like 60, 70 years, Amul's taken 50 years, whatever. They need to reduce that journey to 5 to 10 years, right? And for that, they need to make the customer behavior change. They need to buy a new product, so they'll start with lower costs and increase it. I think over the next 10, 20 years, when incomes increase, and they keep saying that you hit $3,000 and magic happens, which is what happened in China. I think eventually the Indian customer will become profitable quickly. The problem right now is that the Indian customer is not profitable quickly, especially for a new kind of service, let's say like a Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, Uber. The question I really ask is, can you live without these apps anymore? And I think it's very hard to say I can, right? So they've really changed behavior. And I think for a certain set of customers, they become absolutely important. So they'll raise prices, the LTVs will increase. The CACs obviously would have fallen because you retained the customer. But yeah, I mean, today it's a little hard. Even Flipkart is losing money despite its scale. But I think eventually it should happen. In maybe 5 to 10 years, you'll have profitable consumer tech companies.
My question is regarding IIMs because I've given all the top IIM interviews and I'm waiting nervously for my results. So at your time, why did you choose IIMA over the other IIMs? And do you think you will...
question पूछते हैं लोग.
And do you think you will keep the same choice now as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So just look at numbers. I'm not going to say which IIM is better than the other, but the shortest wait list for the 3 IIMs is IIMA, which never goes beyond 5. So it seems like the people want to go there. And again, I always optimize for people, like I said. So I want to be with the most talented group. I'm not saying B and C are not. It's just that out of A, B, and C, I would always pick A. I think the vibe and the culture and the people there are fantastic. And I don't think your career gets defined necessarily because people from IIMA, B, C, L all do well. Careers are very long. But if I had to make that decision again, I'd always take A. There's no doubt about it.
Awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure. Aviral, thank you so much for sparing time. Guys, a big round of applause for Aviral, please. Altuni, which was launched about 20 months back, which is our alternative digital university where we help people get upskilled and we help them get ahead in their career. So if you're looking to get promoted, you're looking to transition from one career to another, or if you're just generally looking to be better at your job, there are a lot of things that you can look at Altuni. And we also have a new product that we are launching via this season's Conversations Cafe, which is Club Altuni, which is a unique closed network where you can sign up and essentially be abreast with what's happening in different domains, industries, and professions. And you get a chance to apply for various jobs that we curate for you. There are a lot of sessions that you're going to do. So there are at least 12 CXOs that we are going to get you to meet over the next few months. If you go on the Altuni website, you'll find Club Altuni. Currently, there is a wait list for this particular product, so you can apply for it.